run, do not walk to your computer or your phone and click add to cart and purchase or get on that wait list. When I met LA, I knew I wanted to work with her to develop my signature speech. And because I have a performance background, I knew that speaking would be the best way for me to naturally merge my worlds of college prep expertise and performance expertise. And I am loving what I'm learning so far. There are so many things that, even though I have stage experience, I wouldn't know would make a memorable speech that really gets to the core of what people want and need to hear in order to make a buying decision. I have already given, 3 talks since I started the class. I'm only halfway through and I have 2 or 3 more to go. And I am so indebted to LA for helping me feel confident and really just excited about what my talk is going to become in the next few weeks.
Hey there, are you ready to take the stage and your business to the next level? Because the doors to my in-demand signature speech program are officially open. Join now and you will get instant access to the program so you can start crafting your 3C's presentation, a talk that is captivating, compelling, and most importantly, converting. Imagine an audience that's raving about you, remembering you, and referring you long after you step off the stage. That is the power of a signature speech. And this program will help you create one that you are proud to deliver. If you want a sneak peek at what's inside the program, check out the show notes for a past episode where I pulled back the curtain and gave you a behind-the-scenes look. Your audience is waiting. Let's make your story the one that they will never forget. I'll see you inside. Welcome to another Speaker Circle community call. These are the calls that I host once a month, a small bite-sized training, about 10 to 15 minutes, followed by the opportunity for you, everybody who's in the room, the ability to ask questions. And then after that, you know how I believe that speakers need to know other speakers. So we will go around the room and you will introduce yourself so you get a nice little bump for your business. So today's topic is another way to be getting booked for speaking events and getting in front of the people who can hire you for associations. And if you would like to learn more and sign up for next month, all you got to do is go to speakandstandout.com/community, and that link will be down below. So thank you so much for joining me this month. This is another one of those unconventional ways to get booked to speak and also to get in front of the right people. Now, before I open up what this way is, you've heard me say there's an association for everything. You go to the fair, you go to the circus, there's that person that blows up those long balloons and then they twist and turn and they turn it into a dog, a cat, some sort of animal. Yeah, and there's an association for that. So there's literally an association for everything. There's even an association for the association executives. And this was one of those, oh yeah, I totally forgot about it. And the New England office is probably a 30-minute drive from me. They are that close to me. So about a week and a half ago, they had an event. And it was a very short event. It was a cocktail party Thursday night, followed by like 4 hours of leadership development. But I looked at the whole event when it was brought to my attention, and their expo room was filled with speakers and event providers, like how to make your events even better, like catering, and invitations, blah, blah, blah. All those fun things that go into making events outstanding. And I was just like, wow, completely forgot about these people. So if you look up the Society of Association Executives, so here in New England, it's the New England Society of Association Executives. So their website literally is NESAE. So I was on their main website trying to find a list of all the chapters because That's the sort of information that I would want to share with you. And I couldn't find anything that was easy. So my hunch is, knowing what I know about associations, you have to join the association and then you pick which chapter you're going to belong to. So pick whatever state you're in. Amy, you would do Ohio. Renee, you're going to do Florida. Joan, you're outside the United States. So you're going to pick whatever state you want and just start looking at their events. And if there is an in-person event, I would go and get in front of these people because these are the people who write the paycheck. These are the people to be building the relationship with. Now, when I was at PodFest, I met a gentleman who is a branding speaker. And we had a conversation about, he spoke at one of these events. It was a pay to play. So he paid $500. He said it was a local event. He paid $500 to be in front of the state association executives. And when I say association executives, remember, there's 250,000 associations. So what associations are in New Hampshire, in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, that they might all be going to this event. So for his case, he went to North Carolina. And yes, he paid the $500 to be in front of a room full of buyers. And so I, of course, because I know exactly how lucrative this can be, I said, so how much business did you book? And he said, $30,000. $30,000 worth of opportunities for him to get booked and speak in front of associations that want somebody to come in and talk about branding. Now, that's just one branch. I would love to go back to him, and I probably will because we've built this kind of a relationship. I want to see him after a year to find out that $30,000 worth of events, how many events was that? And how much did that turn into more future business? Because remember, there is such a domino effect with speaking. That's really the big thing that I wanted to share with you. Getting in front of these people, they do have regional events like what he participated in, getting in front of just the North Carolina associations, but there are national events. And I did a podcast episode, it was last fall, on the 3 different ways to get paid. You can either pay to play, which is what we're talking about right now, speaking for no fee, or getting paid to speak. So the pay to play, the National Association of Executives, they do have big events, and it does cost more than $500. The last I heard, it cost $1,500 to get in front of a room full of your buyers. And you're speaking for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. So, inside my in-demand signature speech program, I'm teaching people how you have your opening and your authority section. You literally are giving your best stuff. This is a commercial for your keynote. Is it a great way to get in front of the right people? Absolutely. If you feel really spot on about your talk and you feel what, I am just paying your $1,500 for the national or even $500 for a statewide event where you can get in front of your buyers, it really is like taking the easy pass. You are jumping the line to get in front of people and to get booked to speak. So it's just one way, but you don't have to do this. The reason why I'm bringing this up is this association, they cater to the executives, the people who are running associations. So look them up, get on their email list, attend some of their events. You're a speaker. You might want to be in the exhibit hall, maybe. Maybe you just want to go to the networking events and the cocktail parties. It just might be well worth the investment to have a membership with this sort of an association. So I know I've thrown a lot at you, and I hope, and maybe you've got some questions now. So I would like to open this up to any questions that you might have. Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. And I like to keep the first round of questions specifically to this month's topic. And then if we have time, I'll open it up to any question about speaking. Go right ahead.
So I'll ask a question. So I am guessing, because I have not given my first speech yet, and I am guessing that this would be maybe like phase 2 of maybe talking in front of other people, getting my first smaller speaking things, and then getting my speech down, and then maybe pursuing something. I mean, it sounds amazing, and I understand that. Like, right, if you get yourself out there, how much more business you can get from it, how many more speaking engagements. But I think you have to maybe really have nailed your talk, so that when you do that, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the first thing I want you to think of, and that is, you never have an opportunity to make a first impression again. So we always want to make a great impression. So this could be the sort of thing where, you know what, I'm just going to get a membership. I'm going to go mingle with these people, get to know them, because remember a few months ago on one of these speaker circle, we talked about reputation and building those relationships with the people who can hire you. So that could be essentially what you are doing when you are just mingling with them. And then you'll have the opportunity to actually go maybe and attend one of these events that somebody is paying to play. Here's a bunch of speakers, and you can go evaluate them. And when you're evaluating them, I want you to watch the audience. Just notice, like, is the audience leaning in? Do they like this topic? Do they look like they're bored because, oh my God, somebody's talking about authenticity again? What's the different spin on it? And I'm just kind of picking on authenticity because I do think it's a little overused these days. But just notice, what are some of the topics? And what are just kind of like really observe the style of the speaker also. So I don't think you should knock this idea down, but it could be something, because you never know. You're building a relationship with an association, and you never know who they know. They might have a friend who is on a committee where you might be a perfect speaker, because you're putting yourself out there, you put your podcast out there, you are doing lives. So there's little bits and pieces that people can go and, let me learn about this Amy person. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great approach. Yeah.
Any follow-up question?
I don't think so. Yeah. No, go ahead. No, I was going to say nope.
That was a great question. So here in Florida, it would still be the Association for Association Executives. That's a national organization. Okay.
It's a national organization.
Right. So you're
and
looking
I want
for
you to put into Google Florida
Got it. Okay.
Society of Association for Executives.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, how do you, hope I asked this right. So being new to the business side of things, and I've spoken a handful of times and I haven't been paid yet. Well, I'm paid once a year. Let's just put it to that way, with an organization that I currently work with. But in trying to get in the business side of things, how do you know what topics are even, of course you want to make sure your topic is relevant. How do you even know if it's worth it to make an investment, if you could, like that?
Okay, so I would definitely consider attending some of their events.
Right.
And another idea is to look at who have they hired.
Right.
So if you're going to become a member, you're going to know not only who it is, but what association they're an executive for. Now you can go to their website and start looking at their events. What kind of titles do they have? What are you noticing for the different topics that are being covered? Because each association is very different and they are catering to their members. There's 250,000 associations. You might be like, okay, of this association that's in Florida, of the different members that are here, there's about 10 of, and I'm just guessing, let's just say there's 250 members, maybe 300 members. And you might go through the list and say, there's only 10 that I really need to be building relationships with. Because like the association of, HVAC, not exactly, those aren't my people. You never know. I mean, maybe it is for you, Renee, but you might be saying, you're going to be able to say, these associations are not my people, but here's who I should be concentrating on. Here are the people that I want
it's hard to know who that is
until you look more into the Florida Association of Executives.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a long game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, I think you also speaking at, in front of Rotaries. That's a bunch of business people. So keep up the good work. Any other question? I didn't know if you had a follow-up question.
About that specific topic.
Okay. Dennis or Joan, did either one of you have a question?
Hey, Dennis here. I don't have my
Hey,
camera
Dennis.
because I'm driving.
Okay, well, stay safe while you're asking your question.
I don't really have a formulated question. So, I've been in the speaking space. I've gotten several books. The way that I found out about you actually was, I think, through a YouTube video a while back. And I've just kind of been tapped into your email list. But my main question is in terms of us, like, kind of putting together systems to stay consistent with outreach. Because I've been blessed where I've never had to do outreach for my speaking engagement. So when the phone stopped ringing, now, like what does that system look,
Okay. And I believe that you do need to have a system. You have a system in place that you are constantly activating each day, each week, each month. So I don't think that's something that I can like sit here and say, well, this is what you should do, Dennis. Like, what feels doable for you?
Yeah, great question. I think the internal conflict that I have is when I started speaking, I didn't start speaking because I wanted to be a speaker, but I felt like I had something that I had to say and like a certain impact that I wanted to create. So now it's getting over that hump of like going from like, I guess, purpose driven to like now like transitioning over to this idea that like, no, there is purpose in focusing on the profit side of things as well.
Yes.
So I think my biggest hurdle, I can sometimes overcomplicate it. It's like decision fatigue, right?
Yes. Okay. So there is a podcast episode that I did called The Daily Vitamin. And this daily vitamin is, I love the analogy of a daily vitamin. The reason why you take a daily vitamin is because you take it Sunday through Saturday. You don't take 7 of them on Sunday and expect the vitamin to work the same. It's something that you have to take every single day. So how does this correlate to speaking? You could make a phone call once a day. Like in the morning, it could just be like, I can't have lunch until I have made my 1 phone call, my 2 phone calls, and you just make your phone calls. And it could be that you are just reaching out to the people that you already know, that you've spoken for, that you are building relationships with. So we're not always picking up the phone because we know that John Smith, who's on the other end of the line, can hire me because we never know who we're building relationships with, who can actually hire us or introduce us to the right person who could hire us. So just constantly building those relationships with people. And if you start now and you get into this habit and you keep building relationships with more and more people, you're going to be up to, I got to make 2 phone calls a day. I got to make 3 phone calls a day. Sometimes
That's
you're just
good.
going to leave voice messages.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So in other words, no excuses, Dennis. Start making phone calls.
I love it.
Good. Any other questions that can be on the topic at hand or anything related to speaking?
Then I definitely have another question.
Then go for it, Renee.
And I'm excited about what's coming. So, I'm sure, about the class. So, okay, I have so many questions, but I guess my question is, there's been different information out there on when you identify who to contact via email, what is the best email that's not going to turn that person off? I've seen so many different ideas. They're all different. Some say keep it generic. Some say, I understand you're having a conference about this and don't talk about yourself at all, and ask a question. I guess I'm just, because I have a bunch that I would like to start emailing again, and I want to make sure I'm doing it the right way and not turning them off, because I know that I'm sure I have turned people off. I mean, you don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. Okay. This is a great question. And the program that Renee is talking about, she's talking about in-demand signature speech. It's been 2 years since I've run this program, and we are starting next week. So if anybody who is listening to this or the recording, you can go to speakandstandout.com/SS for signature speech. I believe in opening the door to the conversation, not saying, hire me. And the reason why is I think it's so putting off. Like me as a meeting planner, well, let me just take this. Like as a podcast host, I get pitched for guests by these agencies constantly. And they are these lengthy, here's how wonderful my client, all I do is delete, delete, delete. It's too long for me to read. I'm not interested. And it's all about them. So again, I believe in let's open the door to the conversation. I have had so much success with this. I have no idea if the springtime conference, or maybe let's just like we're in the late winter here. Let's talk about a fall conference and an association, a chamber, somebody's got a conference that they're going to be running in the fall. I have no idea if they already have their speakers. They might not have even started. Maybe they started a year ago. But unless you open the door to having the conversation, just be like, hey, I just see that you have this conference that you're planning. What's your process for finding and booking speakers? So for me, I just think that's opening the door to the conversation. And Renee, if I got that email from you, you're not saying, hire me, and this is what I talk on. You're just saying, what's your process? Because every association is different. So this is where you got to start keeping really good notes. Somebody may tell you, we don't start booking for that October conference until the beginning of August. And I'm not in charge of that, but Jane Smith is. And so you just gathered a bunch of information. You want to send that to Jane Smith, and you want to make sure that you only send your information not the end of July, but the beginning of August, when they are actually going to be actively looking for their speakers. So I'm a big fan of this. I remember once I picked up the phone, I called the guy, I left him my message. He called me back And he was like, oh, that conference? He goes, I'm not quite sure if you want to be a sponsor in the exhibit hall, but we've already decided on all of our speakers. We start planning this event of ours 18 months in advance. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it just, I share that with you because you just don't know. Just don't know how big the event is, how much time it actually takes to plan this kind of an event.
Right.
When I was on the main site for the Society of Association Executives, they literally, they will tell you on their events for their big national conference for the next 10 years when and what city. Not necessarily the exact location yet, but they have it listed out that they already know in 2029 where they're going to be going for their national conference. So this is just what I believe in, opening the door to the conversation. Your Inside in Demand signature speech, you're actually going to get a copy of that script that you can either pick up the phone and use.
That's great.
Or you can email to people.
Can I ask
Regarding
one
the
other
email? Yes, I just want to share one other thing about
Sure.
email. If you ever notice that somebody has a non-branded, meaning it's not for the association, it might be janesmith@gmail.com. Just know that Jane Smith is a volunteer and she doesn't work for the organization.
I've heard you say this before. Got it.
So I share that with everybody because I want be kind to your volunteers. Don't inundate them with emails because you'll get an email back that says, I have a full-time job and I just do this on the side. That's happened to me before.
Really?
Right. Yeah, I would kind of sent a couple of emails and she was nice enough to tell me that. And I was like, oops. So learn from my mistakes, please.
Yeah. So real quick, my follow-up question for those of us that are 100% in with this business and, when you start to see that so many organizations have booked their speakers out a year in advance, how do people make a living early on? Are there any specific organizations that are go-tos that are considered oh, they're always looking for speakers. They're always might not be paying a bless you. I'm not sure, Christine, but are they? I don't know what they're paying, but even just something to keep the wheels churning while you're trying to gain momentum, since the planning could be 6-9 months, out.
The events that are 6 to 9 months, these are going to be your bigger events. A lot of your associations, they have monthly meetings. And as I've shared, in previous episodes on how to get booked, your job is to go do your research, go to their website. Are they only sharing next month's speaker? Are they sharing all the way up until June? Down in the South, Renee, where you are, you might actually see that the speakers are already booked all the way until November or December. In which case, you are just trying to find out, hey, when do you start looking and booking for your 2026 year? Because you've already done your homework. So not every association is 18 months. Because as a lot of us have learned in the past few years, a lot of things can change and happen. And I know, unless you have that conversation to open the door to the conversation, you won't know this, but just because that gentleman started planning their conference 18 months in advance didn't mean that he was hiring his speakers 18 months in advance. Sometimes they're doing it shorter and shorter because they know that they have to pay 50% of the speaker fee up front in order to hold that date on the speaker's calendar. So hopefully that was helpful. Great.
It feels
Anybody else?
It does feel overwhelming, but that's just the way
it does. It does. And you're going to develop a process and you're just going to hey, here we go. Here's who I'm calling today. Here's who I'm building that relationship with today. And here's who I'm asking for a testimonial today because I spoke for them last week. And you just keep moving forward. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I have another quick question.
Go for it, Dennis.
Based on your experience, is there any titles or job titles that like you've gone after, like whether it's like event organizer, like is there anything that you see more likely, like key person of contact?
That's a great question. And the titles for the person who is responsible for hiring the speakers or the committee that is hiring the speakers varies from association to association. Sometimes they call it the education committee, the conference committee. So you, as the person doing your research, you need to go to the website. I would go under the leadership tab, tap on that, and you will see all the people, like who's the president, who's the vice president, et cetera. And you're just going to have to look through that list of titles of the leadership team to figure out who should you be contacting. Who is the most likely person with that title that is actually responsible for finding and booking speakers?
That's good. Thank you. Now, with
You're welcome.
your experience, though, have you seen like any title used more often than another, like across different industries or different associations?
I can't say that I've seen one more than the other, but what I can tell you is it's very obvious. Like you're going to look at somebody and be like, they're definitely in charge. And if they're not in charge, if you're using my open the door to having the conversation, if they are not in charge of the speakers, they will refer you to the person who is in charge of finding and booking speakers. And if you can't figure it out by looking at people's titles, send it to the president. Because if the president likes what he sees, he's going to forward your email on to the right person. And remember, finding a good speaker is tough. So
I heard that on a YouTube video before, actually. Now that I remember that,
yeah, finding a good speaker is tough. So you are doing people a favor by raising your hand and reaching out to them, saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm available for you." And this is also the other reason why I do these community calls, because speakers need to know other speakers so that you all can be referring each other.
that's amazing. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question?
I'm just curious, when I was listening to Renee, like I was thinking, like, if you're actually like really putting yourself out there and trying to just connect with people and following up, would it ever be beneficial to just create like more than a business card, but like a postcard that has a testimonial, has your picture, talks about your topic, and either bringing it to hand out somewhere or mailing it and then following it up with a phone call?
Yes, yes, and yes. That could be a great process of yours.
Okay.
Like, Amy, you're very likable. And, and I will also encourage you, like, put your picture on there. Because if I'm at an event and I've met 100 people, and it's like, oh, I got this postcard. One, it stands out because it's bigger than a business card, and it's got your picture on it. So,
well, and I know, like, I have a realtor background too, right? So it's all about, like, it takes sometimes 7 touches to even have someone really start responding with you. So I'm just thinking, I have a business card, and then I have a card, and then I made a call, and then, like that whole thing. So
do it. And I've been tap into your real estate background. What a great place to get started, because there are so many associations that are geared just for real estate. I'm not sure if I had shared this on one of these
what's
calls.
interesting, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One of my clients speaks in real estate. So I have one of these books that's not in print anymore, of all the different associations. And so I looked up the real estate to see what all the little sub-associations were. There were 134. just under real estate. I didn't even go to real estate investing. Just under real estate, there were 134 different associations. So you've got the background, you've got the knowledge, you probably have relationships with a lot of these people. It might be interesting to tie in your topic with real estate and see what happens.
It's super interesting that you say that because, my topic is women in the second half of life who are trying to figure out, create a life they love and live without regrets and figure out what their next step is. And as a realtor, like I see so many women realtors that are looking at maybe stepping out of real estate a little bit. They're always going to keep their little foot in there, right? Because of just the business and the referral, but actually doing a speech about, this is what's possible, right? Or whatever. So that's actually a great idea.
Good. I hope you go use it.
I have to get that speech first.
You know what? Start building those relationships. Nothing will excite you more than a fire under your ass, essentially, because you have a date on the calendar. Somebody that said, yes, you will actually get that speech written. Or you can always join in-demand signature speech in 8 weeks from this Wednesday.
I will be there. I will be there. Maybe not this one, but I will be, I'm going to be there. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we go around the room and introduce ourselves? If you would introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, where we can find you, and what your topic is that you speak on. So those are the 4 things. And I'd like you to keep it nice, short, and concise. So Amy, I will have you kick us off.
Well, I'm sure that it's really hard to know what I'm gonna say, but I am Amy Moeller, and I have a course that I just recently launched, and I'm launching again towards the end of March. That is called No BS Living. It is for women in the second half of life who have spent their life taking care of everybody else and are wanting to create a life for this next journey in life and live without regrets. So I will be speaking on the same topic of just, I honestly believe that women in the second half of life are just getting started, and we've got so much to do and grow, and it's pretty exciting. And that's just the message I want to share.
Great. Where can people find you?
On Instagram, I am Hello Amy Moeller. And I have a website that is amymoeller.com.
Fantastic. Thank you. Renee.
Thank you.
You're next in my line here.
Hi, everyone. I am Renee Cooper. I have been a speaker for way too long, but just recently entered the business side of speaking. I'm also a transformative speech empowerment coach, and I speak on a couple of things. For my adult audiences, my most recent topic has been it's time to connect more and present less. And another talk that I've been creating is writing a speech. You've been doing it backwards. That's my second title. And number 3 is the teen audiences that I love speaking with. Older older children like high school or college. That speech is how to use your voice by networking now and building your brand. Something like that. I keep switching the title, but it's build your brand now by using your voice and network now. Perfect. Something to that effect.
Love it.
You could find me at stepintoyourvoice.com. And I took all of the suggestions when I spoke to you initially, Laurie, and redid my website. So I'm excited about that. And you could find me on every media channel except for Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok and LinkedIn, Renee Hill Cooper, and TikTok is at Step Into Your Voice.
Thank you. Dennis, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Did you call me?
Yes, I did. Who you are, where you are, what you speak on, and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So my name is Dennis Esteban. I'm the founder of a movement called We Dine Together. Essentially, it was a club that launched in South Florida. And what happened was we took one club focused on community social isolation, and we scaled it to about 2,000 clubs across the U.S. Um, from there, I quickly jumped into the spotlight and started working with major brands and companies and doing speaking engagements in the country. So the main thing that I talk about, my signature talk, is this idea of how to become a movement. It took me a very long time to realize that I didn't start a movement, I didn't create a movement, but I myself was a movement. And so that you what does mean that's Dennis Esteban, DENISESTIM. And now I've kind of spent the last 2 years in the software space, but I'm kind of now getting back into um, kind of the spotlight, to say. So,
Great. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Joan, are you able to introduce yourself and share what you speak on? I know you had a little one that you were
Praying
if she is.
I am Joan Brown Debert. I'm dropping the Debert, I think, in the middle of separation, and there's been a lot going on. Originally, when I had done the in-demand signature speech, I was going to be speaking on adjustment, like how to navigate through PTSD and navigating that within family life and dynamics. I don't think it's going to be too far or off of that. There's a lot going on within houses and families within our CMP and police worlds. And I have, firsthand insight as to how we've learned to navigate within our household. And so it's a big, important topic and close to my heart. So, I'm just jumping back in. I restarted my Instagram page. I actually just went and followed you guys. I have it on there right now as Joan of all trades and topics. And so that's just trying to dip my toes and things back in and love
Dip your
these
toes
phone
back
calls.
in there.
Yeah, I'm loving these and the questions, and hearing both the questions that Renee and Amy and Dennis, all of you had. It was gets those creative juices back going. So
That's why I love to do these community calls, because everybody learns from each other's questions. Well, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day. I always like to keep these short, sweet, and to the point. And you can go and sign up for next month. It is at speakandstandout.com/community. And I hope to see you next month and even the month after that. So thank you so much for joining me today.